Thank you, everybody, for coming. We are going to try to keep it as real as possible and hopefully as interactive as possible. So I would say as we go through things, we'll probably cover each of our different areas, but do feel free at the end of each section to ask your questions rather than holding them all till the end. We also will be doing a demo at the end so you can get some idea of what is the difference. So hopefully you stick around to see that. So we have a philosophy at GoTab, which is really about stop making your guests work. And really, we believe that's the key to success in many ways. Happier guests, frankly, bigger spending, more repeat visits. Go ahead, Gerard. And so the first one is really, guest work is no fun. And let me caveat this. Different guests are going to have different expectations of what is work. Some guests think ordering on their phone is a great amount of work. Some guests think ordering on their phone is much less work than ordering from a server. And what you're going to quickly find out if you do some of the things that we do is their idea of work is very different from what yours may be. But I think everybody will agree that paying is work. It's not fun for anybody. Getting paid is fun, but paying is not fun. And the last one is really just, waiting. Waiting's terrible, whether it's in a line, waiting for a server, or, waiting to order, waiting for your food. All those things are not fun. Second thing I'll touch on before we move on is critical data is missing. This is kind of a hypothesis we had when we started in 2016. It's really hard to focus on your guests when your guests aren't in your database. And we think it's really hard to understand what they want. And your POS being one of your core databases, I find it about it ironic being someone from outside the industry that there's no record of a customer in most POSs. And the last one is that administration of these sort of mix of systems is very challenging and very expensive. And it creates a lot of error, creates a lot of bad experiences. We'll go into a little more detail about that, and obviously we'll be sharing that. Just so people know, QRs were around before COVID. Nobody believed they existed in the US, and they also thought they were silly. I can speak from experience selling QRs in 2018 once they were adopted on the iPhone. Most people said, what in the heck are you doing? This has no relevance. Quick history excursion. The reason they weren't relevant in the US is the iPhone didn't support them until 2017. That's why they weren't relevant. They didn't work in this country. They worked in every other country because Android supported it. But they didn't work here. This hypothesis of reducing pain, we kind of worked backward. At GoTab, we are now a full POS. We are known for our QR ordering. But the thing is, we operate very differently because we started with guest control as the first premise, and then management control is second. I'm not going to go into all this stuff, but you get some idea of some of the different areas we get into. Go ahead. Some of the brands we work with, we are a bit unusual. This is our first time at Mertech. I'm actually very proud to be here with all these esteemed people. I never would have thought we would have started with enterprise, to be honest. We do a lot of SMB work. We do a lot of high volume single units, which, that's a $15 million F&B operation in a single restaurant is not something most places are doing. And it's a logistically challenging system. But we also do little coffee shops. You won't find them on the logo slide here. So we work with a lot of big brands and a lot of very small brands. Good. And then the last couple things I'll touch on is the ecosystem as we see it is very challenged in the restaurant world. I come from enterprise software. I did enterprise software for 12 years. In the enterprise software world, the idea of not owning the customer data is actually, it's not even discussed because it's laughable. No one would walk into a company and say, I'm going to sell you a system and I'm not going to let you have your data. That's just not viable. And the idea of not having an API to get at that data at any point in time is not something that people would entertain either. So the way I kind of experienced the software ecosystem within hospitality is it was a Frankenstein. It's a bunch of stuff sort of like just piled on top of each other to solve a small problem. And again, if you look at that centerpiece of the POS on the left-hand side, which you probably can't see zoomed out as far as you are, there's no customer record in the POS. There's all these customer data points sort of floating around it. But there's no understanding of customer, there's no understanding of logistics. There's some pretty fundamental pieces missing. Go ahead, Gerard. And the last thing I'm going to say before you jump over to the experts, the people you want to actually listen to, is the impact is massive, like crazy massive. may or may not share the numbers and the details of what happens when you adopt this kind of technology. Our biggest one, which I'm not going to, you can maybe ask me later and I'll whisper it to you, they're doing 96% more sales on QRs than they were before. They're an extreme case. They have huge lines. It's a tourist destination. I was kind of blown away when I heard the numbers, but the fact is nobody likes waiting in lines. It's an unpleasant experience. You buy less, you leave earlier. It's just all around win for both guests and for operators. So if you're not looking at this, and hopefully if you're here, you probably are looking at it or doing it, but we see huge impact. And just for reference too, in some of these places, QR ordering, and not at Topgolf, but at Stone, QR ordering is 90+% of all orders. So it's not a little bit, it's a lot. And it's a very different picture of operations.